Hey everyone, welcome back to Wood Just Garage. Today we've got Project Foxbody in the shop. We're going to be doing some long overdue suspension mods to this car. We've got a full set of shocks to install, full set of control arms to install, stabilizer links, and tie rods to get done to this car. Alright, let's get started. And like usual, we have zero clearance in the shop right here. We got just enough to get the wheels off, I'd say. So the suspension on this car is actually original. And this car is going to be turning 37 this year. So as far as I'm aware, this is all stock suspension as it came from Ford back in 1986. And we're going to be upgrading to performance shocks, performance tubular control arms, and everything else that goes with it. And here's our end result. We've got our new shocks installed from Eibach. We've got our new lower control arms installed. And up in there somewhere, there's your uppers. All tubular. Man, I need to remember to pick up the camera more often. So we got the whole front end torn apart. There's nothing but a brake caliper left. Down here, we got ourselves a new tie rod next to what's left of our old one here. And over here, there's what we're installing for control arms wise. Now this is from our friends at BMR Suspension. They do full tubular suspension with the polyurethane bushings. Much better than the old factory stamped steel that came from 1986. And over here we got ourselves our new strut on here on our old knuckle. And this is actually, if I flip it over here, an Eibach Pro damper. We saw a lot of pretty good reviews on these things, so we're hoping for some new car suspension on this thing. And there's our old factory struts. We won't be needing those anymore. Now over here, I already got this side done. So this is about what we're looking at here. I'll get in frame. Looks pretty snazzy, if I say so myself. And up here, we've also installed some SV caster and camber plates. This will allow us to get a little bit of camber going either direction. And right here, will actually give us caster going both directions. And this is something that the factory mounts never had. So, we'll continue working on this side. I'll try to include you guys in the build process, and we'll be right back in a minute. So the first thing we'll do is we'll get our tie rods set in place, which these mount up way up under there where the steering rack is. As far as installation goes, they're pretty straightforward. I've already pre-assembled both our inner and our outer tie rods together, and then just as simple as turning it into the steering rack. Which, yes, this does have a lot of play in it. That's designed to do like that, so that way I can flex and do whatever it needs to while still steering back and forth. So we'll just get this somewhat straight, and we'll just crank this sucker on there. Without tearing up our boot either, to make sure that boot stays together. I don't feel like buying another set. There we go. And something like that. Now, something that I advise that everybody does when they pick up new suspension components is make sure you pre-grease these things at the very least before you put it in the car. It makes it way easier to get to these things. Because once you get this whole thing flipped around, it's a lot harder to get to these things that are underneath here when she's down on the ground. Now with these bushings, all you're looking for is just a little bit come out the ends here. That's just how you know that there's enough in there. And I'll actually use this grease to actually kind of help out installation on this. Helps detract from the rubber on metal and being a pain to install. Same on that side. And then on these ball joints, there's no real exact way, I believe, of actually greasing these things up. I just grease them up to the way they're nice and pillowy. I kind of feel like holding a like a bread roll in your hands. Just so that way there's enough in there to where it springs right back. That's how you know you got enough in there. Now, let's get to installing it. And now we're back. Got all this installed. And for some reason this control arm actually fought me going into place here. But managed to get in it either way. Now you'll notice on this side, that's the way that bolt's supposed to look. I got it going in backwards on this side. The reason being, way up under here, I was actually hitting on the rack of pinion on this side. I couldn't tell you why either. But either way, we got it in place. Now, let's move on to the springs. Uh-oh. Why in the world do we have a grinder next to a spring here? Well, earlier in the video, I mentioned that we're going to get this car lowered. And we're kind of on a budget with this car. So we're doing it the sort of spooky way here. Now, I do not condone what you're about to see in the next following sequence here. But I've seen this done many a times. It's actually still decently safe. And this sure beats spending $400 for lowering springs, which, according to everybody on the internet, they do not ride very well. They actually ride worse than these will. So we actually already took off a big chunk here. See, normally you stick this on here. That's about what the same would have looked like from the factory. We've had this old isolator in place. We actually already took off a piece there, just based on our previous research. And we decided to go a little bit lower than that. So what you're looking at here is what we would call a one coil drop. So about here, let's see. You're looking at maybe an inch drop, half-inch drop, I don't know. But I wanted to go a little bit lower than that. And what we're looking at here, kind of hard to tell, should be about another 3/4 or an inch drop or so. So this should get this car to sit down nice and low, the way I want it. So without further ado, we'll get our safety squints on, and we'll get to work. And now we've got our spindle reattached onto our control arm here. It's a bit of a mess in here. See, up here, I actually use a zip tie just to hang onto the whole spring here, so it doesn't go flying away on me. And now we're getting to torquing this thing on here. Which, fun fact on these ones, you actually have to remove this lower bolt down here just so you can get to the ball joint nut. I know, really funny, right? Just like how you have to remove the entire brake rotor and hub over there just so you can get the spindle off of the ball joint. Yeah, Everything in here wasn't quite that well designed, but it's been working all these years, so why change it, right? And now we're ready to torque it down here. We'll be torquing this guy down to 110 foot-pounds on this. And then from there, just have to adjust it to wherever the old castle nut wants to hang onto it. And just to help out with the situation here, I've actually attached the tie rod, just so that way the whole thing doesn't want to swing around all crazy. We're trying to reach that torque number. And with our cotter pin installed, we'll be ready to try and push this whole thing up into the hole here. Might have to go push the brake caliper out of the way. And at the same time as we're pushing this thing up, that's got to drop into this hole. And right down in here, you're not going to be able to see it very well, but right there, there's actually a notch for this part right here to actually drop into. Now it actually has to drop and seat in all the way, otherwise this car is going to ride all super funny and be crooked. Now this is where a lot of skill is involved here. So while you're actually picking up on the entire control arm and trying to get our spring to seat in, you actually have to be up in here as well, actually trying to pull down on the shock itself just to get it up over the lip, and also so that way you miss our freshly painted fenders here. So as you're kind of jacking at the same time, jacking up on this thing, you actually got one hand up in here, actually pulling down on this sucker and getting it to compress a little bit, which is already enough of a pain because these are very new shocks. So it makes it a lot harder for it to actually move. So I'll be back with you guys once I get this thing muscled in here. So now we're finally set up with everything. Everything's now in place. I still have to go put the rotor back on. I have to go tighten that down and do torque on everything here. I was actually fighting this part up here because right in here there's actually a little spacer that goes in between the strut and the camber plate here. But you have to go fight to get that piece onto there and get everything else lined up. Now, of course, there's a whole bunch of videos on the YouTube of everybody giving you the proper installation procedure on this. So I actually followed a couple of those videos and those tutorials. Just get everything put in place. So the next video clip will be me putting everything back together again. It's getting a bit dark outside, so I think it's time to call it quits for today. And I'll catch you in the next clip. And here we have our finished product after we got done doing all the work and lowering it. I think she sits pretty nice right now. Yeah, we're not quite tuck and tire yet. It was a lot better than it was. After we got done, we dropped it about 1.5 inches or so. And there's your back. So now she's sitting pretty. Well, that's gonna be all for this video. We're gonna be working on our next project here, a fan favorite, I think. Yeah, you're gonna want to stay tuned for this one. All right, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.